If we can pull the plug on brain dead patients, why not end the life of a fetus before it has any brain waves? It sounds like a fair comparison until we look a little bit closer. And in this video, we're going to break down why this argument fails, not just logically, but also morally. And why every human being, regardless of brain activity, deserves equal protection from the moment life begins. So let's take a deeper look at all of these arguments. Now, before we do dive into these arguments, if you're new to the channel, my name is Rafael. I'm the host of the Small Town Bible Questions YouTube channel, and I help answer your Bible questions and anything related to Christianity, including cultural topics such as this one of abortion, which I myself am very passionate about. And if you like this kind of content and you want to support me, then please like, subscribe, and make sure you hit that bell notification. That way you don't miss any of the upcoming videos that I do make whenever I do make some, because I don't make a lot, but I'm trying out here, you know. But if you've done that, then thank you very much. It helps me out with the whole YouTube algorithm, and if you haven't done so, please help your boy out with that. But now that the whole YouTube stuff is done, let's begin to look at these arguments. Now, the first argument that we're going to be going over is the brain dead analogy. Now, usually it's kind of phrased by pro-choicers, or at least the main point is that if brain death marks the end of life, why isn't the absence of brainwaves at the beginning of life grounds for abortion? And at first it might seem consistent, but it's not, because it compares two fundamentally different biological realities. A brain dead patient has suffered irreversible loss of brain function. Their body may appear to function temporarily through machines, but it's no longer a unified self-integrating organism. Medically and legally, this is considered death. But an embryo or fetus with no brainwaves isn't dead or dying. They're alive. Their brain hasn't failed. It's still forming. One is at the end of human life due to whatever damages happen to their brain. The other is the beginning of a new human life still developing towards maturity. That means this analogy confuses irreversible loss with temporary absence. It's the difference between a body that's shutting down and one that's just getting started. The unborn aren't in decline, they're in progress. And that matters because human rights shouldn't depend on how far along you are in the process of becoming what you already are, which is a living human being. Now, behind the brainwave argument is a deeper claim that what really matters isn't just being biologically alive, but being conscious. This is one of the most common personhood standards in the pro-choice camp. And that is that if you're not self-aware, if you can't think, feel, or perceive, then maybe you're not yet a person. And again, this sounds kind of intuitive until we dissect it a little bit closer. So for example, if consciousness is what makes somebody a person, then people who are unconscious, like those asleep or under anesthesia, or who are in temporary comas, they would stop being persons during those states. But we don't believe that. We don't say that they lose their rights when they lose consciousness. Why? Because we recognize that they are still persons. They're just aren't currently expressing those abilities. And that same logic would apply to the unborn. They don't lack consciousness due to damage. They simply haven't reached that developmental stage yet. They have the same nature and the same internal capacity to grow into a conscious human being. So here would be the key principle, right? Personhood isn't grounded in what you can do, but in what you are, by nature capable of becoming. Now, some people might push back here and say, but if a being isn't conscious and doesn't even have the capacity for it yet, maybe they're not just yet a person, right? And that leads to an uncomfortable but necessary question, which is, are some humans actually worth less than others because they haven't developed as far? Now, some ethicists say yes, and they actually argue that a fetus newborn, and even someone in a coma may lack the traits that make somebody a person, and therefore may not deserve full protection. One version of this view even goes as far as saying, yes, a 22-week-old preemie or a severely disabled person really is less of a person than a fully conscious adult. But again, if we accept that kind of reasoning, we've walked into dangerous territory, because if personhood comes in degrees, then so does human worth. And if worth comes in degrees, then equality disappears. That kind of would lead us to a much deeper problem. And that problem is one that history has warned us about before. Now, once you tie human value to abilities like consciousness, reasoning, or awareness, you've created a sliding scale of personhood. And some people, including respected philosophers, actually go all in on this. Ethicists like Peter Singer, Michael Tooley, and Alberto Giubilini have argued that even newborn infants aren't persons in the full moral sense because they lack developed consciousness or self-awareness. Singer has even said it can be morally permissible to kill a newborn under certain conditions because they haven't achieved personhood yet. And this isn't just like some theoretical thing. It's the logical conclusion of grounding value in function, not nature. And once that door is open, others are at risk too. Infants, disabled, the elderly with dementia, all of them could be seen as lesser persons or not persons at all. And history has shown us what happens when we start deciding who counts as humans based on abilities. The Nazis labeled the disabled as life unworthy of life. Slaveholders claimed their slaves weren't fully rational, and eugenicists denied rights to those with lower IQs. The logic hasn't changed, only the victims. If we want true human equality, we need a foundation that includes every human, regardless of age or ability or awareness. So what do all humans have in common from the beginning of life to its end? Not consciousness, not independence, not awareness. What we share is our human nature. From the moment of fertilization, a new whole living human organism exists, genetically distinct, internally directed, and actively developing towards maturity. Not a potential human, but a human with potential. Just like a newborn can't reason or survive on its own, but it's still fully human. The unborn are at an earlier stage of the same life continuum, and that's the only consistent standard. If you are a human, you have human rights. No qualifiers, no exceptions. Now, sometimes people, in hearing them, may argue and say, if being human is what matters, then shouldn't skin cells or sperm have rights too? But again, that confuses DNA with organismal identity. Skin cells and sperm are parts of human beings. They don't function as whole, self-integrating organisms. They don't direct their own development. They're human cells, but not human beings. An embryo is different. When sperm and egg unite, a new genetically distinct human organism begins to exist. It's not a part, but a whole. Here's a helpful way to think of it, right? So think of an acorn. It doesn't look like an oak tree. It's small. It has no branches, bark, or leaves. But it's not just a random plant. It's a whole living organism at the very start of its life cycle. It doesn't need to become something else in kind. It just needs time, nourishment, and the right conditions to mature into what it already is by nature. And likewise, a human embryo isn't a potential person or a piece of a person. It's a whole living human being developing itself from within with the same nature and identity as you and me. So the difference is developmental, not essential. That's why skin cells don't have rights, not because they're small, but because they're not complete self-integrating human beings. But the unborn from fertilization forward are. And if we believe all human beings deserve basic human rights, that would include them also. So then, where does this all lead us to? And it leads us into making a choice between two very distinct worldviews. One says your values come from your functions and changes as you do. The other says your values come from your nature and remain constant. And if we really want human rights to mean anything, they must be grounded in our shared humanity. Because when we base our human rights on ability, no one's rights are secure. But when we base them on being human from the very beginning, then every life matters. And for those of us who are Christians, this isn't just, some random philosophical principle. It's a theological truth. We believe that human beings matter because we're made in the image of God, and that's what gives every life sacred worth. Not our abilities, not our age, and not our development, but the fact that each of us bear the likeness of our Creator. And now, whether you come from a Christian or secular perspective, the conclusion remains the same. If being human is what makes life valuable, then that includes every human, no matter how small, no matter how weak or voiceless. So I'll finish this video by asking you a question. What makes you valuable? Is it your consciousness, your independence, your awareness, or is it something deeper? Something you've had since the moment you began to exist. If your life matters simply because you're human, then so does the life of every human being. No matter how small, no matter how young, we should protect every human life because justice demands nothing less. Now that is all I have for this video, and if you have any objections or any comments that maybe you feel like I've missed or maybe I've misrepresented, please let me know down in the comments. I would love to interact with some of those questions, or if you have any other further questions from pro-choice advocates that you've heard but don't know how to answer, let me know down in the comments. And again, if you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you hit that bell notification icon. That way you don't miss any of the upcoming videos that I do make on this topic and other topics regarding Christianity. That's all I have for today. Till next time, God bless.